Good evening, folks. This is Deb and Dave, and this is the Factivist Report. And the question we have tonight is, when is DEI not DEI? And was it ever DEI? And did we ever really have DEI here in America? So let's talk a little bit about the history of it all and just how lily white we can make America under Donald Trump, because that's what this is really all about.
Not only that, but using just people, people who are people as uh, pawns in political game, in the worker game. People need people to serve their food and mow their lawns and pick their fruit and all of that. But we don't want to look at them because they're different. They're not white. They don't speak English.
In
It's
other
hard to
words, in
talk to
other
them.
words, we're happy to have them serve us and slave for us, but we don't want them to be part of our society, essentially, is what we're really.
Essentially is what it is. And the very first the very first source that I have basically tells that we have touted this country as freedom loving and as this giant melting pot. It's been a melting pot as long as those people who come to our country from whatever circumstances they did don't express their individuality. Going as far back as Teddy Roosevelt saying that everyone should speak English here. Now, anyone who is not a native English speaker knows how difficult this language is. There are so many different rules and all of that. So let's uh let's start this thing. Are we at? Where am I at? Come here. And no, not that one. Sorry about this. There we go. So let me see if I got the right one.
Just bear with him. Okay.
Bear with me.
He's doing his best.
So I don't go that far, but so this is the very first one. This is by Julia Higgins. I like this little history lesson. The rise and fall of the American melting pot. I don't know if there actually was ever a rise. I think that the idea of the melting pot, we did have very uh, aggressive immigration in the beginning. But did we ever really have acceptance of immigrants? I don't know. Ask the Italians who were ever called wops without permission.
I was just going to say that. I remember even as a child uh, having that said. Do you know what that means? WAP?
Without
Without
permission,
papers. That's what
without papers. Yep.
without papers. So, look, I think we've had some political entities that have embraced it. But as a
Yes.
culture, we've never had a problem, having different cultures come in here and serve us. Okay? When Donald Trump says he built the New York skyline, he's lying through his teeth. He did not build the New York skyline. There were immigrants that came over here who were, yes, trained as architects who built part of the New York skylines. And there were people who came over here who could build to code, even though they weren't trained. They built the New York skyline. They built the apartments that they were then kept out of. That's essentially what has gone on in America. That's just a little piece of it. The
And the
Chinese,
Chinese,
they built the railroads. They built
yep.
the railroad. They built our infrastructure for the railways. So we've never had a problem bringing them in to do that work. We've just had a problem with, embracing them.
As a matter of fact, one of the earliest immigration cases that a gentleman won was a Chinese man who was born in the United States by uh, Chinese citizens, but the government tried to deny him his citizenship when he tried to come back from China after visiting his parents. He won that. So there are nuances to it. I'm not going to argue that,
You know,
but
one other little bit of history with immigrants is in the area of the big mining kings. You know, the barons out there in the Montana area. All of those people out there who worked the mines and slaved for the big barons who made millions and millions of dollars were Irish immigrants, and they lived in squalor, right?
now, yep.
That should not be. Butte, Montana was a perfect example at the time. You
I'm
know,
going to give a shout out to someone who we're collaborating with, Trina Bobina. I don't know her real name. I don't need to know her real name right now. That's her name on Facebook. She's actually working with Indivisibles in Chicago, and she's working hard on the CCOT deportees right now. Uh, and the title of her group is The Disappeared. Now, the original use for that was for Irish immigrants who disappeared. So, but it is very apropos right now because a lot of these people, some of the problems were that you didn't even know who was on the plane, going to San Salvador or El Salvador. You had no idea who was there, who wasn't there, and we're still trying to work that out. So, uh,
just one more thing I want to interject before you get into it, right? I
yeah,
was reading that headline about assimilation, okay?
yes,
Speaking as a gay person, I can tell you that I really look back now and I believe that assimilation was our biggest mistake as a group
right,
of people who are now being preyed upon. You know, we voluntarily assimilated, and I think that was a gigantic mistake, and I thought it was from the beginning. That we should not celebrate our differences. You know, we kept claiming pride and all of that stuff, and we did that. We did the little parades and all that. But now we find ourselves in a situation where, we're being victimized again, mostly transgender people, and
right,
it's time to get away from all of that nonsense and start making pride about politics again, about making it about our rights again.
right.
So
Now,
that's just
bef-
my little spiel about assimilation.
before I even start, don't forget about Howard Zinn. I know he passed away, but don't forget about Howard Zinn. He brings up some very good points.
It's great.
We came here. We were the invading force. Remember that. The Native Americans were living peacefully and they did not want to assimilate. We forced assimilation onto them. Just letting you know that.
After we killed as many of them as we could, we took their children from them and put them in boarding schools to try to Americanize them. We took them
Right.
from their families and tried to make them white. That's what we really did.
Okay, now Donald Trump's trying to give you a piece of history. Trashes the U.S. as a stupid country of suckers and the birthright citizenship brand.
The only
Basically,
fucking suckers were the people that voted for this slime ball.
yeah. So he's basically saying is that the 14th Amendment, when it comes to birthright citizenship, is outdated because it was about slavery. Well,
That's a lie.
Deb and I are going to say, okay. But it actually isn't completely a lie. Howard Zinn actually agrees that that's part of what it was about
Right.
in the beginning. However, number one, it was completely ignored for about 100 years. And number two, tell me that the migrants are not paid very, very low wages to the point of slave wages, that they are treated differently in this country. Some are not given, migrants are not given the right to protect themselves with firearms in open carry states. And some of those crimes that you have seen are because someone was seen with a with a gun in their car, and that's a violation of their immigration status. Okay, so I'm just saying that what he's arguing here is that people have used the system to cross the country, drop babies, and that baby will be a citizen. Now,
Once again, the simplistic thinking of Donald Trump. He goes after the simplest minds in America, and he poisons them. It's amazing how many people will fall for that. That's exactly what most of these people are doing. They're coming here having babies so their children can become citizens. Some people are coming here because they can't live in the countries they live in. Okay, peacefully. Some of them are here on special status. Some of them actually came here, like my grandparents, because they believed they'd have a better life here. Surprise.
so Trump says birthright citizenship was up about the babies of slaves. Now, again, it's part of it. It's part of it, but it's not all of it. If you're born here, you're an American. If you are born here, you are an American.
Period.
And this is the same man who did the whole birther thing with Obama, and now he's going after Obama for war crimes or something. I don't know, whatever.
What else to do with his time besides fuck up the economy, steal from the
Right.
general public, and lie? That's really what he is all about.
Trump also claims that this is the only country with birthright citizenship. About 30 other sovereign nations have birthright citizenship in some form or another. So that's an outright lie.
Just like so many other things that come out of that lout's mouth.
So this is just July 9th, 1868, the 14th Amendment was adopted. So it was part of it that the babies or slaves could, claim citizenship. That was part of it. However, it's also so that immigrants who have worked here, but who were born of uh, foreign parents, would not be deported. As this case determined that. United States versus Wong Kim Ark. We've talked about him before. He was born to Chinese parents in the United States. He went to visit his parents and was denied immediate return. They were trying to say that he wasn't an American citizen, and he won that case. Okay, this is his great grandson. His great grandson fighting the same fight. That's another point I wanted to make. Just because you win a very big decision doesn't mean that evil people are going to try to take those rights away from you. You have to continue to push the envelope and say, no, I'm not giving this up. Remember that, women, with the Roe v. Wade was a distraction. Just saying. So this is a case that they brought up. A baby born to a migrant mom in Arizona defines the Trump challenge. Basically, she got lost in the desert. She was hanging, or she was like traveling with a group of people. She gave birth in the desert to a child. That child is now an American citizen, and they're arguing, well, she's about to be deported, so that child should not have American citizenship.
Yeah, I don't get it. I
Okay.
don't get it.
It's fine if she picks if she picks what you need, like fruit or whatever. But the second that she wants something,
Let's be really honest here, because the majority of people that Trump employs in his casinos and his
right,
golf courses, cleaning rooms in his hotels, they're all immigrants. I've stayed in one of his hotels years ago. I know this for a fact. Um, And it's amazing to me. You can be here as long as you are serving us, but you can't be a real American.
Right.
Right? You can be a slave, is essentially what he's saying.
This is another gentleman from Florida. He was held by police for over 30 hours despite being a U.S. citizen. And a big sticking point was that he couldn't speak English. And his mother brought his papers to court, and they still gave him a hard time.
Yep.
Okay, so Trump paid Bukele some amount of money, whatever it is, to house 200 and some immigrants, Venezuelan, most of them having tattoos. So what Trump did is he said, okay, all of those people are members of a Venezuelan gang. Now, follow me for a minute. It's kind of a convoluted thing. Trinidad, I believe, is how you pronounce it. So the story is that Trump is saying that Trinidad is an extension of the Maduro government. The Maduro government is causing a Venezuelan invasion, which is why he's enacting the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to deport these people because they are dangerous and they are part of a gang.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple things to it. Number one, the Trinidadians, they are not identified by tattoos. ICE does use the fact that people have tattoos to target them and profile them and say, oh, they have to be a gang member, they have tattoos. Not specific tattoos, just the fact that they have tattoos. Even though there's no evidence that gang members are identified by tattoos. As a matter of fact, they're not. Also, it was determined by people in the Trump administration that the Trinidadian gang is not an extension of the Maduro government. They were quickly fired by Tulsi Gabbard. Rubio says intel community is wrong in the Trinidad case. Well, no more because they fired those people within the intelligence committee or within the intelligence community. And that's Tulsi Gabbard fires top intelligence officials who contradicted Trump and said, no, there's no evidence that this gang is connected. Okay. Not only that,
Can I say something about the beginning where you talked about how much they were paying Bukele?
yeah,
Okay, this is what we know. He agreed to pay him 6 million to imprison about 300 alleged gang members of Trinidad.
right.
Okay. But they also said that he could put aside a total of 15 million to house more deportees. That's what we know.
Yeah,
We don't know much more than that because, of course, they're not very transparent. They're not letting anybody see the agreement. But that
right,
has been reported by Senator Van Hollen and Forbes.
right. Now, also what was reported was they were talking about as many as 500
Right.
Venezuelans. And again, of course, he's going to deny or say he doesn't know how much or whatever. So, okay. United States denies Bukele's claim and clarifies that 100 deported individuals sent to CCOT aren't gang members, but were a part of what they called an immigration anomaly, whatever the hell that was. And I believe that the most famous case in here, that he's one of them, I believe, but they're still not going to bring him back. So this is a photo array of El Salvador's prison, the CCOT prison. And this is what we're talking about here, about how prisoners are treated. Look at how many prisoners are in that one cell. So
disgusting.
all right. Many alleged gang members deported had no U.S. criminal records. No due process, no criminal record, no gang ties. Now, I'm not, and let's be clear here. I'm not arguing one person or another has a record, doesn't have a record, whatever. That's not the point. The point is they were given no due process whatsoever.
Right.
And just snatched up. And this is happening in other states. It's happened in Tennessee. It's happening in Florida. So this is the prison again, the CCOT prison, and Christy Nome and a couple other Republicans have done photobomb photo ops with this, showing how tough they are. A couple of news outlets have shown the list of the Venezuelans deported to El Salvador. If you saw, there were some Salvadorans I saw, but there are allegations that they're gang members, whether it's MS-13 or Trinidad. And I have started to do checks or searches for stories on each individual here. There is basically a common theme here. They were pulled over for a tattoo and determined a threat. No criminal record. Some of them were in the process of getting their papers, of becoming naturalized U.S. citizens. I believe one or two were actually on their way to the final process. So right now, 238. Again, and by the way, the Miami Herald is really doing some good work here. And I'm not going to go all the way down the line on each one of these individuals. So it's the same thing every time. And by the way, one or two may be a gang member, who knows, but they weren't afforded their due process. None of them were seen, after doing a criminal background check, seen to have serious felonies or that kind of thing. One thing that I've noticed, and there was a story here. Let's see. Is that it? Yeah.
Can I just say this while
Yeah.
I'm looking at these videos and whatnot? I'm sorry, but I don't believe people who work for ICE should be allowed to wear masks.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you know what? You chose that job. What are you hiding from it if you think you're doing the right thing? What are you hiding?
Right.
It's unacceptable to me. I'm sorry, but that's patently ridiculous. And by the way, due process is afforded to everybody, not just
By
who
the way,
picks and chooses.
it goes both ways too, because Trump gave a blanket pardon to the people involved in January 6th, 2021.
And those people were already convicted.
Okay. It goes both ways. You can't say everyone's innocent. You can't say everyone's guilty. Now, Trump is talking about violent people being deported, while at the same time uh, garnering some deal with with the government in Mexico regarding bringing the family of El Chapo to the United States.
Well, Donald
One who has a conviction, by the way.
Donald Trump
Just saying.
and his administration are acting as judge, jury, and executioner.
Right.
Okay. He let out of prison. His first act was to let out of prison people who were given due process and adjudicated to be guilty of crimes. Okay. You know what? That's the way America works. And that's the way all of the people that Donald Trump is deciding on his own, and his administration is deciding on his own who are good and who are bad. That's not the way this is supposed to be.
And I didn't drop a link about Musk claiming, white genocide or all that. I'm bringing this up. Trump is bringing 59 Afrikaners in who were pro-apartheid. Why do you think that is? First off, a lot of these guys are very, very rich, but why do you think that is? Because it lends to his narrative,
He's a racist.
and he's a racist.
And his administration is racist, and the GOP is racist. I'm sorry, but it's time to stop dancing around this shit. If you're remaining silent while all of this is going on, you're okay with it, and you're a racist.
This raised eyebrows from even people within his own administration because he fast-tracked this.
Well, he can raise all the eyebrows in the world. Raised eyebrows don't change anything.
No, they don't.
Now, that doesn't mean shit from the GOP.
But
They're
what I will
been raised for fucking since
right.
January. They haven't done a damn thing about any of this.
What I will say is the South African government said, first off, they denied any allegations of wrongdoing by the South African government. These individuals were actually part of the oppressive government that they overthrew, but there was no evidence that these people have been oppressed or any of that kind of stuff. None. But they said they are free to move within our country or outside of our country. That's what the South African government said. So when a government who used to be apartheid acts better than the United States, yeah, I do take notice. And again, this is about, he's more than able to deport Venezuelans without any due process. Oh, by the way, not just Venezuelans, also Palestinians, of course, especially those who speak out against the government. But this is about just blanket pardon of the insurrectionists, okay? As well as this guy. And by the way, could you argue that the Proud Boys are an extension of the Trump government? Maybe. The militiamen? We could go there.
We can.
How about us deport them?
How about this? When you can freely go to Mar-a-Lago, you're one of the boys.
Right.
You're one of the boys. As long as you're carrying a rifle in support of Donald Trump, it doesn't matter that you're Hispanic.
Right.
And that's what this slime ball is doing.
Now, before we get into this, I already know what the Trump government said, blah blah blah, or the about the DHS with the freaking, you know, the reality show and all this crap. They completely said that Christy Noem had nothing to do with it. I don't care.
Well,
DHS. This is confirmed, by the way. DHS mulls a reality show for immigrants seeking U.S. citizenship. This is literally Running Man.
yes. Now, and let me tell you who the creator of this is. Does anyone remember Duck Dynasty?
Right.
Well, just so you know, the people who participated in Duck Dynasty were all frauds. They were all fucking suit wearers. They weren't backwoods fucking country bumpkins with rifles. Okay? That's not reality TV. That's bullshit TV. And as far as I'm concerned, what kind of a circus is running this country that would even consider talking to someone developing this? Is this the way our country should be run? Like it's some kind of an entertainment? Is this entertainment for people? I'm sure it is for MAGA. I'm sure they love this kind of shit. But there again, let me go to the mentality of people who voted for this guy. Because I'm not getting off that topic.
We are talking about people who just want to try to live their lives and be be with their families and and live their lives. I mean, what's wrong with that? And
By the
you're
way,
gonna like do this? No.
if this comes to fruition, this will just be another embarrassment for the United States. And don't believe for one goddamn second that anybody who participates as a contestant on this show is actually a real immigrant. Do
Right.
not. Do not.
Right.
They will be paid actors. That's what this is all about because that's what this guy, the kind of shows this guy creates.
Now, people who are in the custody of ICE, some of them die anyway. They die of natural causes or whatever. The amount of people who have died in ICE custody have, I believe, almost tripled. I know they've increased dramatically, but I will repeat what Deb says. You have to be able to identify these ICE agents in case they do something out of pocket.
This was just at 7 2 days ago. It's at 9 now.
It's at 9 now.
Okay, and let me tell you something. A lot of it may very well be due to the fact that they are in overcrowded facilities.
Yep.
Okay, uh, the woman that came back to the from Louisiana, um, that was snatched off the streets of Somerville,
Ms.
Massachusetts.
Osterk, right?
Yeah, Osterk was kept in a mouse infested cell with 23 other women, a cell with 23 people in it. Okay, and this was in our country. All right, this was Louisiana, the shining star of whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But that's not the way. I mean, I'm sorry, folks. That's a gulag. That's a concentration camp. That is not any way for a civilized nation to act.
Now you have family members of people, and I'm not just talking about the CCOT people. You have family members of people who disappear, who
Yeah.
are taken away. Nobody knows where they are. Okay. And a big challenge is to try to track where these people are going or where they are or any of that. That was a big thing with Van Hollen in the Brago Garcia case. They needed to know where he was.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but uh, this is what I think. I mean, this is what I've been told, and I don't know. You can confirm or deny it. You may not know the answer to this, but the LGBTQ hairdresser, the gentleman that was deported,
Yes.
they still can't find him. Am I correct?
I believe so. The other thing was there were two different names that were being attributed to him. So that's part of it too. I don't know if they found him yet, but I know there was some kind of weirdness going on with that.
Yeah, I don't believe they found him. I don't believe that. I know somebody went down from where he's from uh, to see if they could get confirmation proof of life, and they came away empty. I don't know what happened after that.
And by the way, that's what a lot of these uh, senators and House reps want. They want proof of life.
We owe
They're
this. We didn't give them due process. We need to find out where these people are. Okay, we need to find out where these people are. They have family here that are worried about them, and we owe that to them as human beings. Enough of this bullshit.
now here's what people have to understand too. You may think, oh, this doesn't involve me. It might. Trump is talking about bringing U.S. citizens with papers to foreign jails. Okay. So before you think this doesn't involve you, it could
Just
in the
I
future.
think that anytime you see somebody's rights being taken away and you don't think it can happen to you, you can bet your sweet ass it can and it will. The more we don't stand up for other people and the more we don't stand up for each other, the more dangerous this nation becomes. He's
Now,
got people in his sights that are not immigrants in this country, believe it or not. Whether you
I
want to continue to live in the shadows and
yeah.
with your head in the sand is your choice, but I'm suggesting to you that we look very much like Germany in the 30s right now.
And again, this is going to pop up more and more. Surprise, surprise, it happened in Florida where they just picked up a bunch of people. By the way, one of them was determined right away to be an American citizen and released. Okay, this this is not what the law intended. It isn't. And one last one. 2-year-old girl reunites with her mother in Venezuela after U.S. deportation. They separate families, okay, and then demonize the parents. Now, Deb and I met a very similar kind of thing, okay? To me, it's kind of the same, but this is much worse, okay? The Free Julian Assange movement, the bottom line and the thing that Deb and I solely agreed on, whether or not this guy was a good guy, bad guy, whatever, he was due his due process. Okay. And shouldn't have been in jail, just automatically. That's what we had said from the beginning. These people are getting snatched off the street. People don't even know who they are. And they say, oh, it's a Venezuelan with a tattoo. He has to go to San Salvador. I mean, no, no. Okay, this is the last one. I know there were a couple of cases where they were the people who were trying to get their immigration status to American citizens, they were caught with a gun in their car, okay, or something like that. And immediately some people are like, oh, deport them, they're dangerous. Well, they have to defend themselves too. And a lot of this, they're in open carry states, so they're a different class of citizen. Okay. And I'm not talking about people who are committing crimes with weapons. All
Let me
right.
tell everybody the dangerous claim that every mass shooting in America, just about every mass shooting, has been from an angry white man. Okay,
No, I didn't do it. I happen to be an angry white man, but I did not do that.
yeah, no, every school shooting, everything you've seen, that's not happening. By that, those aren't violent crimes being committed by immigrants. Okay,
Right.
they're American citizens. Uh, literally killing thousands of people a year.
But Trump is perverting the law. Okay. And if you are going to claim the Alien Enemies Act, you cannot bring in people from other countries right away without a really good reason. So
Well, you can
he's
if
well,
they
you
fight and you have
can,
a
but
lot of money.
right,
If they, as long as they can buy their way into the country, everything with Donald Trump is transactional.
right,
You can buy. He wants people to be able to buy a gold card to come into America. You bring in all your money with you. Come on in. You're white and you're rich. Come on in. That's what
right.
Donald Trump is trying to achieve here, a totally white society. Let's not mince any more words here. Let's not. I mean, let's call this shit for what it is.
And that's level one. Level two is you do what Donald Trump says, because I'm gonna, go off script for a minute. I'm gonna actually uh, go here. Donald Trump actually is admonishing the uh, the CEO of Walmart for raising prices because of the tariffs. He's telling businessmen, no, no, you just eat the price of the tariff. You don't raise the prices. What do you think was going to happen? They're not going to cut into their own profits.
And honestly, it's like his executive order on pharmaceutical prices. Donald
Right.
Trump has no authority over private business. None. None. He might think he's the king of the world, but he's not.
And he does not have the right to circumvent the Constitution.
Correct.
The 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and we're not even going into the emoluments clause yet or any of that stuff. I'm not talking about all that.
That's
I'm
coming.
just talking about birthright citizenship and the right to due process. To me, 258 people, he's talking about, by the way, he's talking about deporting millions. He's basically talking about completely wiping out our immigrant population. Where are those people going to go? He doesn't care about that, but where are those people going to go? So, and every one of these people have families. They might not even know their families, but every single one of them have families and have the right to live their life, their right to, of what is it? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. They do have that right. And you cannot tell me that the government has not, uh, in one way or another, tried to minimize those rights for some people simply because they're brown or simply because they're different than other people. They have different customs from other people. Okay. So that's pretty much what I have. Um, well, actually, the next thing is that it's fine if you're an immigrant as long as you toe the line. He loves Elon Musk because Elon Musk is with the program. Torrio is with the program. They can come in, you know, but these guys who are construction workers and laborers, you heard the makeup artist. There was a lot on the makeup artist because apparently he works in California. He may even had, some celebrity clients. That's why they would. But the fact that people were asking whose name, who was attributed, and all that. I know he's gotten a lot of press, but there were other people. They just like they went to a McDonald's and they were snatched up. It's like that isn't what we signed up for.
Exactly.
So We need to figure out what kind of country we want to be. And honestly, I don't want to be part of a hateful country. Now, there's always going to be hate here, but it shouldn't be legislated hate either.
And I don't want to be part of a country that arrests somebody, grabs them off the street because of an op-ed that they wrote in a college newspaper 2 years before with four other people.
Right.
It's to be able to voice your opinion. This is what we're supposed to be able to do here. All right. I don't want to live in a country that snatches up Palestinian activists,
Right.
okay, because they don't like the fact that we're wiping out an entire population of people on behalf
That
of
was
a fucking genocidal maniac in the
that
Middle
was
East.
Mahmoud Khalil, by the way.
There's a few of them.
Right. And by the way, I'll bring this up too. We're not El Salvador yet, but guess who's fleeing the Salvadoran country right now? All of the premier Salvadoran journalists are fleeing El Salvador right now. Now, are we there yet? No. I want quality premier journalism. I don't want Jennifer Rubin to fear for her life to the point where she's going to leave.
And
Okay.
I don't want, I'm tired of the mass media capitulating to Trump.
That too.
I'm tired of that shit. They're here. Their job as the fourth estate is to take a stand against this kind of shit. It's not
And
their
fun.
job to give Donald Trump $15 million for his presidential library and capitulate on a slam dunk defamation case. They had that case won. ABC
I will
chose to fold.
I will say this to the legacy media and say this
You're
to
pathetic.
anybody in the press. Stop asking questions you already know. What is the emoluments clause? And is he really breaking it? He bought or he was gifted a $450 million plane or a $400 million plane. Give me a break. What is due process? Are people being arrested of their rights?
That's
Stop it.
that's only the media trying to make it look like they're doing their
They're
job.
fair and balanced.
That's all it is. It's making the media look like it's doing its job. The mass media in America is dead, with the exception of ProPublica, which I don't consider mainstream.
They're not.
They're actually very highly sophisticated and extremely um, dedicated to real information and investigative journalism. Okay,
We'll
Roland
go here. Yeah.
great. You know, it's
Daily Beast, ProPublica, the Rolling Stone. There are others,
the Atlantic.
so the Atlantic is great. I've seen a lot with the LA Times, the Miami Herald, all those guys. And look, we talk about the Bulwark all the time. They have their biases. They're going to talk about Biden to try to stop whatever blue wave there's going to be. They're going to do that. Okay. They're also going to push for moderates. Now, are moderates really going to fight for the immigrant population? I don't know if they are.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I was much more into the Bulwark while before Trump was elected than I am right now. Honestly,
Correct.
uh, I'm
And the
a,
Lincoln Project and all that.
I'm about to
Well,
cancel my $100 a year. After this year,
thing to the
I won't be
yeah.
re-upping the Bulwark again.
What I will say too, I'm having conversations with people who are directly involved in the CCOT. As we said, uh, Trina is part of a group called Fight with Facts. We we are looking for a collaboration there because she is spot on that people should not be denied their rights. And by the way, we're not saying guilty or innocent. They need their due process rights. And if you're going to say this person needs to be deported, we need to see the reasons.
Yeah, what we're basically saying is we don't think that Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller should be the judge, jury, and the executioner of this. That's not the way this country was designed to
Right.
work from the beginning.
And by the way, maybe we should fight for the people who are being fired, that they're being fired simply for disagreeing also. You know, Tulsi Gabbard firing those two people. First off, that that means nothing. That just discredits her intelligence community. Honestly, someone disagrees with you, you fire them.
That just
Something that,
for
yeah,
intelligence, period.
right, right. But I have seen nothing. I have seen no evidence that the people who were deported, the 258 who were deported, were gang members. If there is evidence that they create, please provide it. I'm not defending people who have committed violent crimes. I don't know, like Enrique Torrio.
By the way, there is an article out there. There is an instance of the fact that one of those, the arms of one of the deportees was had a tattoo that was doctored. It was done with Photoshop. We need to
Okay,
find an article.
I'll
And
find it.
Christine was questioned about that in front of Congress.
Okay. Well, and the bottom line there is that the tattoos should not be the glaring all and be all evidence that these people are linked. There
But
needs to
just
be
the fact that this government
incidents.
would go to those lengths
Right.
should be alarming to everybody. Okay?
Right.
It should be alarming to everybody.
I'll look for that. I may even put it in here, and I will let people. This is about the CCOT
I believe
people.
so.
Okay. All right. I will definitely look for that article, and but again, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the demonization of people, not justice.
Right.
Okay. So that's what we have. This one, I want to thank everybody who is on top of this and other deportation cases as well. What I do want is to work with people who are working on the CCOT stuff specifically so that I can get a blueprint on how to research other groups of people who are just snatched up off the street. There were over 100 in Tennessee, and there were recently some in Florida. So, and when it happens in my neck of the woods or Deb's neck of the woods, and don't think it can't in in on Long Island or Massachusetts. I understand
It's
we're
happened
blue
in
for now.
Massachusetts.
It happened already, but I'm looking to see if it's going to happen in a mass kind of way. And when it comes to Deb's area, maybe even my area, it may be more of the Palestinians, the anti
I don't know what went on.
Israeli government
I don't
protest
know what
stuff.
went on in Worcester, but they took a woman, uh, and the police participated in it, and that became a big bone of contention here, um,
Right.
to the point where somebody released the names of the police officers that were involved in it.
Oh,
We do not like that here in Massachusetts. We don't like our police supporting ICE. We
right.
have vowed not to do that.
And that's happening in Nassau County, Long Island. If people are hip to the MAGA nonsense here, we have a an county executive. His name is Bruce Blakeman, who has become famous for all the wrong reasons, and they're talking about cooperating with ICE as well.
Yeah.
Now they also claim, and I believe them because I know that there were MS-13s in the high schools when I actually was working within the junior and high schools. I know there was a presence there, but you can't just say that one's MS-13. You have to have something before you do that.
That's right.
So,
All right, gang. We'll be back next week.